Emma, Norman, and Ray are three extremely intelligent orphans that share a happy and structured life at the Gracefield house along with 35 other kids. Their day starts off early, with Emma rousing the kids from their sleep and getting everyone ready for breakfast. We see Emma in the house mom role, helping younger kids with their shoelaces and generally caring for the other orphans. At breakfast, we meet Mom, Isabella, with black hair, purple eyes, and a warm smile. Isabella tends to the kids with matronly patience and care. The kids all adore and revere her, especially Emma. Following breakfast, the kids are shown demonstrating their intellectual aptitude in a series of tests, which Emma, Norman, and Ray all pass with perfect scores. Despite their impressive intellect, Norman notes that Mom is still far superior as Emma agrees, recounting that they've never been able to beat her in chess. The kids then engage in a game of tag on the large green fields and among the lush trees of the forest that surround Gracefield. Emma is best known for her athletic abilities, and so when Norman is it, he quickly knocks out most of the house with the exception of her. The two square off as Emma makes a daring leap over a crevasse to escape Norman. Just when she thinks she's home free, hiding out in the canopy of a tree, Norman feigns falling over and lures her out. "Your weakness is that you're too kind," he says. The trio summarizes their game of tag, and another round is played where everyone is it except for Norman. He seemingly disappears into the forest, with nobody able to find him until Emma accidentally stumbles upon the outer limits of the forest and notices him gazing at the low-level fence at the border. She tags him, and the other kids eventually catch up with them. There's a discussion of what the outside world must be like, and the kids all take turns dreaming about that fated day when they're adopted and finally leave Gracefield. One of the younger kids, Connie, is actually being adopted that very day. After a day of play and fun, Connie bids a tearful farewell to her Gracefield family and is led away from the house by Isabella. During cleanup, Emma comes across Connie's beloved stuffed animal, Little Bunny. Knowing that she can't possibly make the transition into her new foster home without her dearest friend, she takes Norman and attempts to return the doll to Connie. The pair makes their way to a distant garage of sorts, where a truck lies waiting in the stone corridor. Emma assumes that if she leaves the bunny in the back of the truck that Connie will eventually find it, but when she goes to place it, she discovers a horrific scene. Connie's lifeless, gray body greets her as Emma staggers back in shock. She calls Norman over to confirm, and he's also shaken by the sight of their lifeless former sibling. As they're attempting to make sense of it, they hear voices from another room and immediately go to hide under the truck. Horror begets horror, as Emma gets a good look at these figures and discovers that they are honest-to-God monsters. She and Norman both struggle to muffle their screams of terror as the monsters discuss how the kids are being raised as high-quality meat for rich and powerful monsters. Emma wants to know where Mom is and gets her heart-rending answer as a third monster calls on her by name to ensure that the delivery of the high-quality goods goes off without incident. In a matter of moments, Emma and Norman's entire world has been shattered, revealing the terrible truth of their lives. They eventually escape from the corridor, running back to the house as Emma collapses with a mournful scream. That night, she and Norman are discussing what to do next when Norman suggests they should plan on escaping. Emma is reluctant, not wanting to leave the other kids there to die. Norman assures her it comes down to strategy, much like tag and chess. Emma seems to be briefly comforted by the thought, as the episode concludes with Isabella holding Connie's Little Bunny, seemingly recognizing that someone was sneaking around. Learning the truth of their home has shaken Emma to the core. She has vivid nightmares of Connie being served up as a fancy main course, can barely hide her look of terror upon hearing and seeing Mama for the first time since their discovery. But Norman tells her they have to keep smiling like nothing's wrong. Mama may know someone was at the gate to leave the bunny behind, but she doesn't know who. Or rather, if she does, Emma and Norman are too valuable to kill just for witnessing Connie's processing. During playtime, Emma and Norman agree escaping through the forest is the safest way, but when they cross the short fence, they soon encounter a massive, seamless concrete wall. Further complicating matters, when a little tyke is lost, all Mama has to do is glance at her watch, and she knows exactly where to find her. So, Now they know that security is rather lax because they have some kind of tracking device implanted somewhere in their bodies. Mama seems to make a big show out of wordlessly warning the likes of Norman and Emma. Back at the house, while having a private moment of grief for Connie, Mama suddenly appears before Emma, wondering why she's been less cheerful of late. All Norman can do is watch in horror around the corner as Emma puts on a cheerful front for Mama. Ray ends up bailing them both out when he rings the dinner bell, but as Emma and Norman depart, Mama asks them straight up if they were at the gate the previous night. They cheerfully say of course not, that's against the rules, and continue on, but Mama is definitely suspicious. Once they're alone again, neither can hold in their sheer terror anymore. Emma even collapses to her knees, but Norman helps her up with a trembling hand, and Emma sees she's not alone and all hope isn't lost. They're going to get out of here. They just need a plan. That plan involves stashing a bunch of table linen in a tree hollow near the wall that they'll use to make rope when the time comes to escape. Norman figures they have 2 months left before the next child is taken. But someone followed them out to the wall. Fortunately for them, it's their friend Ray, who wants to know what's up. They tell him, and to their amazement, he believes it all without a hint of incredulity, because he knows Norman well enough to know he'd never lie about something like this, Emma being a different story. While Ray is willing to lend his not inconsiderable intellect to the big escape plan, he has a big problem with Emma's insistence that all 37 children will be escaping. He brings up the virtual impossibility of getting everyone away from Mama and off the farm without serious or even total casualties, and something I didn't consider. Beyond that wall, it's a demon's world, not for humans. Escaping is just the first step. The young, small, and weak will have to be left behind to ensure any chance of the survival of the older, bigger, and stronger. But Ray's way isn't going to work with Emma. She doesn't care if it's impossible. Everyone is being saved, and that's that. It may be foolhardy, but Norman is with her. When Ray asks why in his otherwise right mind he'd go along with Emma's mud boat, Norman explains simply that he likes Emma and wants her to keep smiling no matter what, and that if dried and hardened it's possible for a mud boat to float. Isabella is already well known by her new assistant, Sister Crone, not only for being the youngest mama of a plant for consistently producing the finest product available, but she's no doe-eyed acolyte eager to learn Isabella's ways. Her very first night there, Crone is already planning to usurp her boss, who gave her all the ammo she'll need. Isabella isn't reporting the 2 children who witnessed a harvest. That could get her fired, or worse if the bigwigs find out. Meanwhile, Emma, Norman, and Ray have just one more difficult variable to consider during their preparations for what's already looking like a hopeless escape plan. When told to think like the enemy in finding a place where a tracking device could be implanted, she inspects Carol, the newest addition to the farm, and finds a red bump behind her ear. I probably could have done without the demon business meeting, complete with some kind of steaming brew, but no donuts, as it kind of detracts from their mystique. But at the same time, despite their frightful appearance, these monsters carry on pretty banal lives, with the lower classes of demons serving the upper classes. Perhaps the kids could exploit the inherent discord within such a strict caste system, but first things first, all the logistics required to get everyone off the farm safely. They agree that it's too risky to attempt to destroy their ear trackers lest they trip an alarm, so they focus on getting everyone out first. They know many of the kids will either be too young to understand or old enough not to believe a word of what they're saying. Everybody loves Mama after all. The trio decide to disguise the escape as a harmless game of tag. Emma sets to work improving the kids' physical condition, while Norman and Ray coach them up on the proper way to survive. Tag. Unfortunately, their subterfuge doesn't fool Sister Crone for 1 second. She's suspicious of the 3 to start, and unlike Isabella, intends to ship them out sooner than their official ship date, so she can snitch on Isabella for breaking protocol and grab power. Crone is also physically superior to all of the kids, being an adult in pretty good shape. She challenges the kids to a game of tag, betting she can capture them all in 20 minutes. She lures most of the younger kids out of their hiding spots by making cute cutout shapes and leaves. Once she's spotted Emma, it's only a matter of exhausting her and forcing her to find a hiding spot. It's a place where there are only so many such spots, and Emma has the disadvantage of having tried to run with 2 young ones in her arms. The moment when Crone's voice suddenly grows louder and clearer as she suddenly looms over Emma was, well, pretty frightening. Norman manages to give Crone the slip, and Ray is the one to announce that her time is up. She's impressed by the trio of troublemakers, but only insofar as she's impressed by prime livestock. Now that she knows the actors, their strengths and weaknesses, and that there's more to their tag than mere play, she'll be keeping that much closer an eye on them. Not to mention, she'll have an extra set of eyes in the form of a traitor in Gilda. When Norman and Ray put the pieces together to determine there's such a traitor among them, you can see Emma's spirits plummet. All this time, she's thinking of getting everyone out of the farm to spare them the stuff of nightmares. But the adults already have at least one kid, and it could be anyone working against her efforts as well as that kid's own interests. If there was any doubt that Isabella also considers this a game of chess against the smartest of her stock, she makes sure Sister Crone understands that her role doesn't extend beyond that of her pawn. Informing her that she's well aware of her behind-the-back plotting, Isabella promises Crone that if she cooperates, she'll be a mama of her own. Predictably, Crone privately fumes and resolves to unseat Isabella rather than wait to be promoted. No doubt Isabella knows she could still be betrayed. Meanwhile, Emma, Norman, and Ray continue their escape practice thinly disguised as a game of tag. Only this time in teams led by older kids rather than everyone on their own. There's a lot of attention paid to the hierarchy of the teams and the patterns of their movement. Ray insists Emma memorize all 100 formations he's devised, and while Emma seems initially reluctant, she responds with easy peasy, because it most certainly will be easy peasy compared to escaping the farm for real. It's not lost on the trio that there's a traitor in their midst, and they've already cast most of their suspicions on Gilda and Dawn. When Ray tells Emma to go against her kinder nature and suspect them, it isn't long before everything they do looks suspicious to her. How will the escape ever succeed if they can't trust everyone escaping? It's for this reason that Norman uses one card only they can play, the element of surprise, not in that they're escaping, but when. With the pattern of the schedule, Mama has basically dared them to use all of the month plus they have left until the next shipment. But Norman knows they can't go by the schedule they've been handed. They have to escape sooner, much sooner, in just 10 days. To achieve that, they need to start filling in the other older kids, starting with Gilda and Dawn. The POV animation of the three slowly climbing the stairs to the library really transported me into their shoes and added to the tension and stress with each creaky footstep. At first, Dawn thinks it's a big joke, but Gilda knows Emma well enough to know she'd never joke or lie about such things. Norman lies that the kids who left were victims of human trafficking, since the cold reality might just be too much. Gilda and Dawn ultimately both agree that an escape attempt is the only choice. Ray doesn't like how Norman left out the truth to Gilda and Dawn about all the kids dying and being eaten. But for Norman, the escape must come first. He'll deal with the backlash from bending the truth once that objective has been completed. He's also set traps for Gilda and Dawn by giving them different locations for their escape rope. That night, Emma pretends to sleep and watches Gilda sneak out of the bedroom. What Emma can't see through the door is that someone I initially believed to be Gilda slips a piece of paper under Isabella's door with the location of the rope, under Norman's bed. It must be noted that Norman told Ray that he'd tell Dawn it was under the bed, not Gilda. After the paper is delivered, Gilda visits Crone's room, and Emma listens in from behind that door. Things get a little tense in there, with evidence wavering between Gilda being Crone's informant and not, but in the end, Gilda does what Emma hoped for and refuses to give up any information. The next day, Norman wonders out loud why someone would betray their family. Ray tells him there must be some kind of incentive, like being promised they'll be allowed to live and grow up to become an adult. Later, Norman asks Emma if she'd let the traitor escape with them even if they betrayed them. Emma predictably and quickly answers that of course she would. She wouldn't consider the traitor a bad person, because none of them are bad people. Again, Emma proves she's the emotional and moral heart of this show. But when Norman and Ray search the two spots where the rope was hidden, Norman says there's nothing under the bed, and Ray says that must mean Dawn is the traitor. Only now Norman is convinced that Ray has been the real traitor all along. There's certainly already a wealth of evidence to support that, but we'll see if Norman's right, and if so, how Ray will explain himself. Until then, things just got a lot more complicated. When Norman confronts Ray about being Mama's spy, Norman stays calm. In fact, he's even a bit amused he was found out, like he knew this time would come one day. Norman's just too smart for his own good. For his part, Ray doesn't deny anything, but he does explain that he did it because it had to be done. If we're to believe his explanations, and for now, at least, I do, Ray has been playing a very long game with Isabella, which has netted him information that would be vital to any possible escape plan. He knew someone would have to be in Mama's pocket in order to learn what needed to be learned and gain her trust, as much as anyone can gain her trust. Taking a page from Emma's Book of Compassion, Norman agrees to forgive Ray as long as he agrees to be his spy as well. Ray agrees, but only if Norman tricks Emma into thinking they're taking everyone. Other than Gilda and Dawn, the little ones will be a burden, both during and after the escape, and Ray didn't spend years being Mama's informant for everyone to get killed in a futile attempt to get everyone out. Immediately his meeting with Norman, Ray meets with Isabella, telling her the others to continue to use the game tag as practice, but focuses Mama on Sister Crone as the primary threat. Ray is well aware Crone was brought in as an insurance policy on Ray, but if she's not watched closely and her ambitions stamped out, Isabella may be in big trouble. For her part, she doesn't seem to consider Crone that much of a threat. Ray might be able to use that. As for Norman, Ray's insistence not everyone can be saved triggers a nightmare for Norman, in which everyone, including Ray and Emma, are killed and have flowers sprout when they attempt the escape. Not the most confidence-building dream. Still, Norman plays ball, even as Ray just comes right out and admits to Emma that he's Mama's informant. Rather than get mad at Ray, Emma is sympathetic to the burden he's had to bear, allowing child after child to be shipped off as he played his role. It's notable that while Ray has endured 6 years of shipments, Connie alone was enough for Emma and Norman. She doesn't ask Ray for details of exactly how many he allowed to be sacrificed to learn how to disable the tracking devices, but takes firm hold of his hand and tells him not to do it again. Gilda and Dawn feel left out of most of the private conversations between the other three, but Gilda and Emma start observing Mama more closely, and Emma discovers there's a secret room where she does something. Ray suggests it's where she contacts headquarters. Dawn is itching to get in there, but Ray urges caution, and Norman agrees. But Dawn does not feel like caution. He does not know Connie is actually dead, and so he wants to escape and save her ASAP. To that end, he and Gilda enter Mama's room, and Gilda slides a bookshelf aside to reveal a locked door, just as someone else is about to enter the room and catch them red-handed. Dawn and Gilda are extremely lucky it's just Phil who comes through that door. But Dawn persists in creating increasingly tense situations for himself and Gilda, and is obsessed with learning the truth the other three won't tell them. So he steals Isabella's key. Meanwhile, Norman, Gilda, and Two-Face, Ray agree that in order to escape and survive, they'll have to gather as much info as possible about the outside world, and how they'll be able to live out there. Emma introduces the guys to a potential ally on the outside, discovered by chance by Phil, that squirts dropping mad dimes. Within many books in the library, there are book plates bearing the name William Minerva and various words in Morse code. If they can figure out the order of those words, they may be able to glean some kind of useful information Bill is trying to secretly relay to them. It gives the kids hope there might be other humans out there, resisting the demon hegemony. As for Dawn and Gilda, they explore deeper and deeper into Mama's secret chambers, finding all of the stuffed animals and toys, including Little Bunny, that not only confirm that what Norman said about the adults being bad was true, but make them suspect something far worse is going on. Again, a little kid ends up saving them by distracting Mama, who is this close to catching them red-handed. Norman and Ray scold Dawn and Gilda, but they know they haven't gotten the whole story. Norman decides to tell them the truth, and as expected, it's a lot to take. Dawn takes out his frustration by slugging both Norman and Ray, the most violent exchange we've yet seen between the orphans. But Dawn doesn't hate them. He hates that he was so weak and useless they felt they had to shield him from the truth. After he cools off with Gilda's help, the other three go outside to properly apologize for lying and asking if they're still with him even if failure means death. Without hesitating, Don and Gilda say they are. Emma feels like a weight has been lifted, but it's not as if their job has gotten any easier. It only means now there's no further tension between the 5 orphans in the know. Don and Gilda help steal certain materials that Ray mentions in his report to Mama, detailing Norman's plot to kill her. But Norman tells Emma he's having Ray feed Mama false intel. No doubt, so she'll ultimately be misdirected or otherwise distracted when they make their escape. During his report, Ray also learns that when the monthly shipment occurs in January, he will be the one being shipped out. His time grows short. Only a week remains until the agreed-upon date of the escape, but the kids get a bit too careless in their open conspiring, and Sister Crone suddenly pops out from behind a tree to announce that she knows everything about what the 5 of them are plotting. However, she isn't angry, nor does she threaten them, not that she has to. Instead, she suggests they join forces against Mama. Sister Crone offered to join forces to eliminate Isabella, as well as cooperation in the escape of Emma and her comrades. The children see this temporary ally rather more as a threat than join forces due to Crone's crazy nature and untrustworthiness. In order to acquire the intel they want, Emma and Norman cautiously head towards Crone's room. The 2 of them are being careful to not slip up while questioning her, but Crone can completely see through them. We discover Sister Crone having a number on her neck. 12-year-old girls who meet certain criteria apparently get a choice: shipped off with the boys or trained to become mamas themselves. In exchange for not being eaten, they are given implants that stop their hearts if they ever leave the farm. In a way, they're given less freedom. Some would rather be dead than never be allowed to leave. Sister makes no bones about it. She's willing to help them only so she can advance her career by becoming the new mama. If the kids escape, Isabella is responsible, so helping them escape makes sense. During a late-night visit, Norman and Emma get to see the tracking device monitor up close. It's not that precise, but there's a lot of questions Sister claims to be unable to answer. All she can say is there are humans out there not being eaten, and if they successfully escape, they'll have to mix in with them. Sister arguably gets more usable intel from the kids than they get from her. She learns that they knew about the tracking devices, where they were, and how to break them. Cut to Ray, receiving a Polaroid camera as a gift for his good service to Mama. He puts on an act about being fascinated by photography, but pointedly leaves behind the photo he took of her. At this point, Isabella suspects Ray of spying for her simply to lift any suspicion from himself, or whether she knows the camera contains parts he can use to defeat the devices. Perhaps Ray, Norman, and Emma are the first ever truly significant threats to her control over the farm. Isabella envelopes herself in overconfidence. As for Sister, it doesn't take long for her to test her suspicions by searching Ray's sleeping area. Instead of finding the camera or any other contraband, she finds a folded-up note, one it would seem Ray left for her on purpose. We don't get to read its contents, but they may be irrelevant, as Mama shows up right after she reads it with a second letter. Mama's sayonara strongly implies it's a letter dismissing Sister from the plant. More than once, Don hopes out loud that the inspection plan goes smoothly, and whenever a character hopes something like that, chances are it won't come to pass. Things certainly don't go smoothly for Sister Crone. Turns out she's not fired, she's just been named the new Mama Plant 4. Only there's one thing more important to Crone than becoming a mom, and that's ruining Isabella. That turns out to be her downfall. As had Crone left quietly for her new assignment, it's possible she would have been fine. Or maybe not. When she presents her evidence to Grandma of the high-quality kids' escape plan, it's utterly shrugged off because the kids are still under control. As for Crone ever having a chance of replacing Isabella, that was never in the cards. And so, as Crone's life in the farm and training to become a sister flashes before her eyes, Grandma sicks a demon on her and plants the flower that causes instant death. Rest in peace, Sister Crone. You certainly never had any in life. Her last thoughts are of her hope that the kids are successful in escaping, something she could never do. Ray isn't aware that Crone is no longer in the picture until it's too late, and the inspection mission is already underway. Isabella, calling out his treachery, suddenly and unexpectedly terminates their arrangement, locks him in a room, and uses her tracking device to detect Norman and Emma. When Don and Gilda see Isabella leave the house, but no sign of Ray. Dawn races into the house, busts down the door, and frees Ray, and the three of them head to Norman and Emma's location as quickly as they can. But as has ever been the case since even Ray first thought of resisting this system, Mama is simply too many steps ahead. She encounters Norman and Emma and rejects their fake smiles, dropping the pretense that she's maintained for 10 years. She also makes a seemingly heartfelt, though one questions if she has a heart to feel, plea for them to stop resisting and simply accept their fates. They can live happy, full lives until their shipment days, at which time their deaths will be instant. Even if Isabella empathizes with her livestock in knowing that the worst kind of suffering for them would be to take her up on her offer and give up, they're too valuable to her as meat for her to ever consider entertaining their desire for freedom. One wonders if Isabella, like Crone, was once in their position, and thus has already concluded resistance is pointless. Whatever the case, when Emma and Norman reject Isabella's ultimatum, Emma rushes Mama and hugs her tight so Norman can get to the rope, and Emma pays for it, big time. Mama snaps her knee like a twig, then lovingly applies a splint and carries her back to the house. No matter how spunky and determined Emma might be, there's no way she'll be able to escape now, at least not on her own two legs. Oh, and just to twist the knife, Isabella informs a horrified Norman that his shipment date has been set. Far from smooth, things have gone just about as awful as possible for our Pee-wee heroes. Alas, for all of the kids' careful preparation up to this point, the situation has never been direr. Any hope of Emma escaping on her own 2 feet has been dashed thanks to Mama's act of appalling brutality, while Norman is due to be shipped out in a day's time. Norman puts on a brave face for Emma, but when he fetches water, he betrays a look of paralyzing fear and despair. And yet, once that moment has passed, there's a decidedly defiant look on his face, like he's decided and committed to his next move. When he returns, Ray is with Emma, and they've already decided something as well. When Norman proposes, they proceed with the escape plan without him once he's gone and Emma is healed. They reject him in unison. Their counter-proposal: Norman will deactivate his tracker with the device Ray has just completed, using parts from all the various discrete rewards he got over the years, and hide out until Emma heals. Then they'll all escape together. Norman is fine with this plan, except for the fact that if he goes missing, they may ship Ray out instead. In that case, Ray says he's willing to have his arm broken so, like Emma, he won't be suitable for shipping. When Norman asks how Ray found out about the truth of the house, he says he's always known, since he has memories of his life going back to when he was still in the womb. Norman agrees to the plan, and the next morning, Norman executes his escape, running to the wall with the backup rope Dawn and Gilda made, while Emma and Ray stick close to Mama. The music that plays while Norman is running to freedom is epic, hopeful, and triumphant. After he attaches the rope, he holds it taut as he runs up the wall and manages to grab hold of the top ledge and hoist himself up. A vast forest unfolds in all directions on the other side, a forest full of possibility. If they could get everyone into that forest, the adults would be hard-pressed to find them. When Mama finally notices Norman is not around, she checks his tracking device, and her expression makes it clear it's not working. But to Emma and Ray's horror, she smiles and closes the device, and Norman emerges from the forest, looking like he'd just been drugged or hypnotized. Turns out it was neither, but simply the look of utter, complete defeat. Only while atop the wall and looking over the other side could he discover the truth. There is a vast, yawning, sheer cliff between the wall and the forested land, of a distance they can't hope to surmount. Just when the kids' spirits were at their highest, everything is cruelly snatched away, and their doom feels more inescapable than ever. It looked like checkmate for the kids, and especially Norman, who after all was going to be shipped out the next day. That schedule is not changed, and Norman accepts his fate, much to the despair of Emma and Ray. Norman offers them a ray of hope by noting that the complex of farms, or plants, form a hexagon, one side of which is the headquarters where there's a bridge across the cliff. But he won't be joining them, and his mind won't be changed. That doesn't stop the other two from trying. While packing for his departure, Norman puts only one item in his suitcase: the string telephone Ray helped Emma make years ago so she could communicate with Norman when he was sick and quarantined. Mind you, his being sick never kept Emma away, and Mama had to shoo her off more than once. In a microcosm of the trio's dynamic in the present, Ray's technical know-how and Emma's stubborn refusal to give up leads to the two ensuring Norman isn't lonely. Norman isn't just a friend, he's family. Emma and Ray love the hell out of the guy, but this time there's no string long enough to reach where he's going. The scene of Norman's goodbyes is rough. All of the other kids are either in tears or just barely holding back, but no one is suffering his impending departure more than Emma, and she makes no attempt to hide that suffering or to pretend she's not going to do everything she can to stop Norman from leaving, including trying to slip him the tracking device breaker. It takes the most explicit death threat from Mama yet, delivered chillingly quietly, so only Emma can hear, for Emma to calm down and accept Norman leaving. Before they part, Norman hands her back the tracker breaker and tells her not to give up. As for Ray, he's not even there. Norman has to come to him, and even then, Ray says nothing. They only share a parting look. Norman and Mama's solemn walk to the gate is another standout scene, steeped with doom, but also an odd kind of peace. Mama seems to hold Norman in genuine esteem, as the two seem to have an understanding that Emma and Ray will be treated well until the end of the time that was decided. He momentarily throws Mama off when he asks her if she's happy, but she replies that she is because she met someone like him. They reach the gate, and Mama directs him to enter a well-lit room to wait, and that's the last we see of him. Who knows what he saw, or if it was the last thing he saw. Maybe Mama has bigger plans for him than mere food? Emma and Ray are gutted by Norman's loss. The three of them were inseparable, almost symbiotic, but Norman was their center, their heart, the bridge between them. The two of them don't seem able to continue on, even with support from Dawn and Gilda. Ray tells them he's tired and doesn't care anymore. They can do what they like, but he's resigned to dying there. Emma was then the last of the trio to hold out hope and not give up, but she's too overcome by grief to accomplish anything. Both the little kids and Mama take note of her constantly morose state, and Mama visits her in her dorm to urge her to give up, and life will be much easier. She even offers Emma a path that will allow her to become the next Mama of the house, rather than be shipped away. Of course, Emma is never going to go back on what she promised Norman, no matter how many perks she offers or bones she breaks. So Mama tells her fine, keep dreaming of the impossible, writhe in agony, and be damned. Time passes, and the eve of Ray's shipment date arrives. Emma wakes up and finds him humming to himself in the chapel. It's there where both of them reveal that at least part of the way they've been acting around Mama, Gilda, Dawn, and the little ones was merely a performance, a means of lulling Mama into thinking they really did give up. But they haven't, as the fire in their eyes at the end of the episode proves. They seem as determined as ever, and thanks to Norman's reconnoitering of the wall, a path to escape remains. Ray asks Emma whether had she given up on the escape, to which the latter denies, as she reciprocates the question to him. As the two started talking about their escape again, Emma brought up the fact that she had further planned on the escape during the past 2 months since Norman's departure, impressing Ray in the process. Ray discussed with Emma on how burning the house down is the best way for them to make their escape. The former then showed Emma all the oil cans he had hidden over the past few years, as he proceeded to dump oil all over himself, scaring the wits out of Emma. Ray explained how he has been waiting for the day for him to end his life, as it would serve as a distraction for Isabella to rescue him whilst Emma and the other orphans can make their escape. As the clock chimes midnight, the now 12-year-old Ray ignited a fire. Emma hastily ran towards Ray. Isabella left Carol's bed after she falls asleep. The mother then proceeded to her office. When the clock in her room reached midnight, Isabella went to the calendar and crossed out January 14th, as she wished Ray a happy birthday. Soon after, a loud scream could be heard coming from the cafeteria. Isabella went after the commotion, as she saw Emma lying on the ground, devastatingly calling out Ray's name. Isabella checked her radar and noticed how Ray is indeed inside the burning fire. The former attempted to extinguish the fire, hoping that she could still retrieve Ray's brain. When Isabella ordered Emma to escape, She turned around and noticed how she already disappeared. Isabella used her radar once again and tried to look for Emma, only to pick up the signal of Emma's transmitter from her severed ear in the bathroom. Isabella picked up the bloody ear and came to the realization that Emma and the other orphans are indeed making their escape. Emma held on to what's left of her ear with a bloodied bandage as she went to join the other orphans in the forest. As Dawn, Gilda, Anna, Tama, Lonnie, Yvette, Alicia, Jemima, Chris, Dominic, Rossi, Mark, Nat, and Ray reunite with Emma near the wall. Ray was utterly baffled in the current situation as he asks Dawn to tell him about the escape. Dawn enlightened Ray on how he, Gilda, and Emma had been getting the older orphans into the escape plan, specifically Anna, Nat, Toma, and Lonnie. Ray recalled how moments after the clock struck midnight earlier, Emma had prevented him from burning and killing himself and slapped him because of it. Tama and Lonnie came into the cafeteria and had wrapped meat and Anna's cut hair in Ray's clothes as a decoy. Emma revealed to Ray how months earlier, Norman told Emma of Ray's plan to burn himself and prepared a counterplan for her, which meant that they were already prepared to escape. As the orphans later evacuated the house, the escapees all made their way to the wall as they prepared their escape. Emma started to hallucinate about Norman, who appeared next to her and encouraged her. Ray stared at all the other escapees and noticed how the younger ones are not in the group. Isabella managed to get the communication device, which resembles a suitcase, that reaches out to the Premium Farms headquarters. As she stood outside the house, staring at it as it burns to the ground, Isabella started to laugh, as she happily states how she will catch them all of the orphans back. Before Isabella can make her move, Phil appeared behind her as he tugged her dress. The latter was shocked to see the child's presence. As the kids begin their ascent up the wall, Emma informs Ray of a change in her plans. Rather than rescue everyone tonight, she's leaving all the little ones 4 and under behind, and is committed to coming back for them and everyone else in the other plants before their various shipping dates arrive. It's a tough choice, but one that had to be made to ensure that the group of 15 older kids survive the escape. That's why little Phil is with Mama as the house burns. Turns out Phil isn't on it, and even though he's only 4, he now understands what it means that Norman, Connie, and the others were harvested. Emma leaves him in charge of training the next wave, his fellow younger kids, and getting him ready for when she returns. But first things first, getting across that great yawning cliff. There's another wrinkle in the plan for which Ray was kept in the dark, which meant Mama was kept in the dark. They don't use the very obvious bridge to cross the cliff. Instead, Don heaves a stone across a narrower portion of the cliff, and the rope wraps successfully across a tree. He ziplines across, secures the other end of the rope, and secures the second and third ropes 2 of the kids use water rockets to launch across. It's a wonderful use of ingenuity and intense training, and the kids pull it off with aplomb. Phil also succeeds in distracting Mama just long enough, so when she sounds the alarm, the monsters go to the bridge, and when she realizes they're not at the bridge, she doesn't get to their location until Emma is the last person who hasn't made the crossing. Emma flashes one last defiant look at her former Mama and says goodbye before ziplining across. The lines are cut. Mama is beaten. In her moment of defeat, we learn more about who Mama, who Isabella, was, thanks to a supremely affecting flashback that really humanizes her despite the monstrous things she's done for her superiors. Isabella had a Norman of her own in Leslie, who played a beautiful lute and wrote a nameless song she loved. But Leslie's shipping date came, and he said goodbye, and Isabella was devastated. She used her ingenuity and athleticism to climb the wall, only to find the cliff and despair as Norman must have done when he first saw it. Her Mama comes to bring her back home, and eventually, Isabella is given the same offer she'd later give Emma. Only while Emma refused, Isabella accepted. She was trained to be a sister, then a Mama, and even gave birth to Ray. A younger Ray hums the same nameless song Leslie used to play because Isabella hummed it when he was in the womb. Ray realizes Mama is his birth mother, asks why she gave birth to him, survival, plain and simple, and their collaboration continued from there. Isabella held close and never forgot from her time as one of the same kind of kids Ray, Norman, and Emma turned out to be, but it's a song that reminds her that she chose to survive by joining the system rather than rebelling. In the end, Mama seems more proud than anything else that her beloved children outwitted her. Now that they're beyond the wall and cliff, she wishes them good fortune. The sun rises out of the horizon for the first time since they gained their hard-earned freedom. Seeing them silhouetted against the dawn's light is one hell of a beautiful parting shot.